Well, let's get to that next point. You've done lots of different research and you've come up with lots of different real numbers. What's the number or the data set that's most alarming to you?
Yeah, so we like to look at data sets where there's lots and lots of population. And my colleagues, Carlos and Yuri, we think the best data set that proves the case is the disabilities. Although everybody loves to talk about excess deaths because it's hyperbolic, the disability numbers are just staggering. And they really show a tight correlation to vaccine rollout and a rise in disabilities. We get the BLS showing the numbers in the US. It's not granular. And then we have the UK Personal Independent Payment System, PIP, they call it, that goes more granular. It all started exploding in 2021. The numbers are pretty stark. The correlations are just tight.
Sort of off topic, but a question I have. I'm interested in the demographics, particularly in Russia. I have an instinct that living in a country where there isn't a history of the rule of law, where there's rampant alcoholism, where there's a declining birth rate, and where there's a very large land war in Asia is going to be surprisingly bad for the demographics. Have you seen anything in your research that suggests that the injuries and the excess death rates from the COVID shots are materially different in different populations or materially different from different types of vaccines that were used?
Well, we did look at Russia. We don't have the demographic data, but we've looked at all sorts of different countries. In the US in particular, excess mortality, while down from its height of 40% in 2021 for ages 16 to 64, it's running between 5 and 10% right now. And the young people are still dying excessively, around 20%. So that's a problem. Scott Davison of One America famously said in January of 22 on a Chamber of Commerce call that a 10% excess death rate is once in a 200-year flood. 40% was off the charts. So now we're coming down from off the charts to once in a 200-year flood consistently. Deaths are easy to predict. Death rates are stable and steady. It's easy to get a baseline, and then you can get statistical signals. And fertility, it's affected by economics. So you need persistency of down fertility rates before you can make a call. So as we go through time, if the persistency of fertility continues to decline and stay low, then we got the twin problem of low fertility, excess deaths, which demographically is a disaster. The good and bad news is the US is probably the best country out of China, Europe, and Japan and Korea, the major Western economies, because we imported 10 to 15 million illegal aliens, to kind of cover up some of the excess deaths we've been seeing here in the US. China has a big problem. They hit a demographic wall in 2020, and you've seen what's going on with their economy. Japan is entering another demographic death wave. It's going to accelerate. South Korea is terminal. And then, of course, Southern Europe is a disaster. So we got demographic problems all over the place, which is going to be a problem long term.
There's a reason why the world's best informed investors read my daily journal. Subscribe for free at portersjournal.com.